unlike us, their lives don't have routine, and because there's so many strange things that can happen to them, they tend to move when the going's good or when they're hungry, and sleep for about 16 to 20 hours a day. So they spend the majority of their time sleeping. And you would like to know, where else do they, like, where are their favorite sleeping places? Well, on the ground is quite comfortable, but when the grass is long and it's very hot, it can almost create like a blanket. And up trees occasionally, up marula trees. Let's try and show a marula tree. It's their favorite tree to sleep in this area. There's a couple of them over here to our left, and they've got beautiful thick horizontal branches which are quite comfortable for the leopard to lie on, and also quite a good spot for the leopard to hoist their kills. They occasionally take their kills up into the trees, wedge them in there, and that way the lion and hyena rather won't actually be able to get to them. Now I'm going to try and reposition ever so slightly to give Seb a better view, and therefore all of you, because he's the one with the camera. There we go, that's a bit better. And we are going to spend the afternoon here and see what happens a little bit later. Hopefully he's going to come and feed on that duiker, and who knows, maybe some hyena will come onto the scene and give him a hard time. And while we sit here and wait patiently with this beautiful big male leopard, we are sending you back up to Kenya with Ralph.
Thanks, Scott. And from one cat to another. This is another of our big cats. And yes, look, you guessed it, it's a lion. And there's lots of them around here. And you see, this is a girl lion. Or if it's a girl lion, we say that it's a female lion. And how do we know that? Because it hasn't got all the hair around its neck like a boy lion or a male lion would have. So that's very nice. And she looks like she's looking out to see if she can find something that she can eat. Doesn't look like she's spotted anything just yet. Niana, you want to know how many teeth they have? Niana, it's between 25 and 30 teeth. So it can depend on different animals, but it's pretty much between that. So 25 to 30 teeth. There's lots of teeth in there for them to be able to eat all the meat that they need to cut through and be able to grind down as well before they swallow. So they do need lots of different kinds of teeth in their mouth. Some are to help them kill an animal. Molly, you want to know why the female or the girl lions don't have hair on them like the males or the boys? Well, that's because the boys like to fight between each other a lot. So they have all that hair so that they don't get injured around their neck. And, ooh, there's one coming up through the grass. You see how well it's walking up there? And so the girls or the females, they don't have all that hair because they are going through the grass like this, and they are able to hunt much better than the males. You see, because she's very well camouflaged. And you know what camouflaged means? It means that she disappears inside the grass. Look at that, because she's the same color and she can hide. Look, and I'm sure she might be playing a trick on her friend. She might be sneaking up on her friend so she can jump on her. Ali, you want to know how big are their families? Look, she's going to sneak up on her friend. She's going to play a trick on her. Look here. Look. She's going to surprise her there. Woohoo! How big are their families? You wanted to know? Well, this family is about 15 lions, so this is quite a nice sized family. Imagine having like 12 or 13 brothers and sisters. It's quite a lot, and that's quite big for this area, but it's quite normal for lions to have quite big families. So anything between 10 and 30 in a family is quite normal for lions. It's not like leopards that go around by themselves, or cheetah, that maybe there's 2 or 3 of them sometimes. The lions are the only ones of the cats that have big families. All the other cats have very small families, especially the leopard. He normally goes around by himself. Unless they are little babies, they are normally always alone. Whereas lions, you don't very often find them alone. Now, Antonio, you wanted to know, do lions like humans? Not really, Antonio. If they see humans, they'll normally run away. And sometimes during the night we need to be very careful of lions, because we could also be food. So we just need to be very careful. That's why we need to go everywhere with our torch at night when you live in near to the game reserve in any parts of Africa. But if you see lions during the day, it's normally not a problem. It's only when you see them at night you need to be very careful, because that's when they go hunting. And this one seems to also want to come and play a trick on the other lions. See, there's lots of wind, and so they can sneak up without the other ones hearing them. Do you see how they disappear in the grass, eh? And that's what you call camouflage. Holland Elementary, you want to know, how do lions hunt for prey? Well, they work as a team, and maybe they surround a buffalo or a zebra, and then one of them will have to jump on the buffalo or zebra, and then they have to grab them by the neck, which stops them, or they aren't able to breathe. Look how they're playing. They're going to tackle each other. And so that's how they hunt. They'll have to stop the animal from breathing, whether it's an impala or a zebra or a buffalo, and once the animal stops breathing, then they can start to eat. See, they're quite far apart, and there's lots of lions here, and they're all playing around and quite enjoying it, aren't they? But they all like to go and sit on top of the termite mound. Now, everybody, I think I'm going to try and get a little bit closer to these lions so we can see them a little bit better. But while I do that, I'm going to start the truck and drive forward. Let's send you to Jamie, who's got a wonderful buck to show you.
I do indeed, and I'm so glad that you got to see the lions with Ralph, but I did promise you I'd show you as many species of antelope as I could, and this is the biggest one that we've seen so far, and also definitely the fluffiest. So this particular antelope is called a waterbuck, and they're called waterbuck because, well, you guessed it, you often find them near where there's lots of water. And the reason that they're so fluffy is they often spend time feeding in water that's gathered on the ground or perhaps in shallow parts of rivers, and it sort of helps to keep them warm. That and a substance that they secrete, a type of oil that coats their fur and helps to keep them dry. So these are two little waterbuck, and my favorite thing about waterbuck is their noses. They have heart-shaped noses. They are such pretty little antelope. So there we go, another antelope to add to your collection. Now, Britton, you want to know how fast a waterbuck can run. Now, there are certain antelope. Remember, we saw the topee earlier. Now, the topee is the fastest antelope that we get here and can reach speeds of around about, I have to do this in miles now, 70 kilometers per hour, which would be around about 30 miles per hour, possibly even a little bit faster, even up to 40 miles per hour. Waterbuck are not as fast. They can't run that fast. So let's say that they could run between 25 to 30 miles per hour. So they can't run as fast, but they can still run pretty fast. As fast as the hippopotamus and probably faster than you or I. Right, kids, it's been absolutely lovely the fact that you joined us this afternoon. I hope you had an amazing safari and you saw some fantastic creatures, and I hope to see you on the back of our safari vehicle soon. We'll take you on another adventure. For the rest of you joining us on our regular safari, we're going to send you across to South Africa. We fought off the gremlins. Let's go and join Scott back all the way on the southern tip of the continent.
Welcome back to the wonderful Tingana, or at least his tail to start with. Seb's going to give you a full tour of its beautiful coat. As you can see, it's panting very heavily, and I'm sure it'll be later on this evening that he decides to carry on snacking. We've been having some fun with Ronald the Rover. He has been very, very relaxed with the... And it's a wonderful, wonderful development because he hasn't had much time spent with the Rover. The fact that in such a short space of time he's come completely relaxed with it is a wonderful, wonderful prospect for incredible views and insights into their lives in the future. Now, we drove it up to him while he was lying in the shade and he was completely okay with it. But sadly, the Rover shut down. It said it was too hot. So it's overheated. We're just going to, thankfully, we parked in the shade there, just like Tingana. And hopefully everything will cool down and we'll be able to get you some views of him from Ronald. So that's an exciting prospect. And once he's got to know this machine, which I'm fairly confident he already has just in the course of this morning and this afternoon, he's going to go about his business without taking any note of it, just like he goes about his business taking little or no notes of us. So a good breakthrough with Tingana, our dominant male, and I look forward to lots of wonderful low angle shots of him thanks to Ronald. So an exciting future. But for now, we just have to sit and wait patiently and hope that the Rover cools down and also that Tingana eventually gets up and has a snack. Well, very good. Well, as we sit and wait patiently with our leopard, we are having the wonderful opportunity to send you back up to Kenya with a pride of lions.
Thanks, Scott. And yes, and this is an absolutely beautiful sight, this, with the forest in the background and these lions sitting with the light shining through the clouds and hitting them just perfectly. What a wonderful picture that is. Lions looking in all directions. A couple of youngsters there, but also a couple of the adults too. And these cubs are getting quite big now. They're almost sub-adult. But beautiful that. And they were playing and running through the grass and tackling each other while I was repositioning. And now they've settled a little bit, but all on top of the same little mound. Raghu, you want to know if if lions ever feed on grass when they're hungry? No, they won't feed on grass when they're hungry, but every now and then lions do eat grass, but it's mostly around if they've got an upset stomach. So much like dogs do, and sometimes your house cats will also eat grass, and it normally clears their bowels. So they can either regurgitate it, or sometimes they pass it right through the back end. Bowels, and sometimes if they've got a bit of acid reflux, or that's what I've chatted about with some wildlife vets and normal vets, because the pets at home also do it, and I've asked them why they do that, and they say sometimes when it almost they probably feel like they've got a bit of heartburn, so it's quite burny for them, lots of acid. They do have very acidic stomachs to start off with, so it can often feel a bit burny, and then they eat grass to try and clear the system. But they won't eat it for hunger. They'll only eat meat for hunger, whether they kill it themselves or they steal it from somebody else. And these guys are playing through the grass here. I think it's just all play. I don't think they've spotted anything that they're going to try and kill to eat. But everybody, I don't think I'm going to be going anywhere. But let's send you on all the way back down to South Africa. We'll probably be here when you return. But let's send you on down to Noel.
We have a bokkie. A bokkie is a slang term for a buck, which we don't really have buck here like you have in the United States. That's actually a term for a male deer as far as I can remember. But it is B-O-K-K-I-E-S, which is Afrikaans. So you get Waterbuck, and then if you change it over, it's B-O-K, so bok. Now, these guys are extremely cute. Ooh, and I believe Jamie was showing you Waterbuck in the Mara earlier. Now, we just had a beautiful zoom in by Davi. So not only are they adorable, I love Waterbuck. They actually remind me a little bit of donkeys. But I think on the zoom in there, we had a nice view of the bum, if we wouldn't mind doing that one again, because these bums are very different from the bums you would have seen with Jamie. I'm wondering if you can see the difference. That big round circle as opposed to no big round circle up in the Masai Mara. And these are the common waterbuck, and if I'm remembering correctly, I believe the ones up in Kenya are Defasa waterbuck, but I could stand corrected on that. My brain is a little bit slow today for some reason. I think maybe I need a little bit more coffee, which will probably happen after game drive, so excuse me if I misspeak at all. So very, very shaggy, very furry. They've got a special kind of fur with a very special oil on it that helps wick water away from them, so that when they feel nervous, they can run into the water and they don't get too waterlogged. And then if you're ever lost in the bush, you can, if you find waterbuck and you find their tracks, you can usually follow them to water. Wendy, you're asking, is it true if they smell awful? Wendy, it is so true. They do smell awful. That gland that helps wick the water away also gives off a very pungent odor. Right now, they're not smelling because they haven't really released the gland, but I've been around them when they've been hunted by something like a wild dog and gone into the water, and it is quite pungent. And it's not a horrible pungent. It's more of a really deep, musky, but yeah, I guess it's kind of stinky. I guess we can call it stinky there. Now, I'm not sure, but we did have some warthogs before, but I think they might have run off. It's very windy, and so everything's sort of clumped together because their sense of smell and their hearing is impaired with a big gusty wind like that. Like this, I should say. All right, now, while we're busy, we're still on the search for Tundi. I think she is where we were before. She just didn't want to be seen, so we're just giving a bit of time, and we're just triple-checking to make sure she is not elsewhere. Let's head back up to Jamie in the Mara. Hi, Jamie. It's nice to hear your voice again and have you back, and we'll see what she wants to show you.
Oh, Noel, it is lovely to hear your voice as well, and I'm very happy to be back, and I hope one day to actually meet Noel in person. We've been separated by half a continent. But moving rapidly on as she searches for Tundi, poor Tundi, who lost her Dacre kill, we are with some lovely elephants, and there's a couple of them just off to the left. You can see they're all scattered in this open area, but there's a couple of them off to the left that were feeling a little bit playful. And they seem to have calmed down a bit now, just stopping to feed. And if we go even further along, there we go. Here's Mum, the biggest female in the herd, so most likely the matriarch, just in terms of age, rather than necessarily judging on her size. But look who she's got with her. Started with a baby. Did we start with a baby elephant? Yes, we did. We started with a baby elephant this afternoon, and we are continuing along that vein. Too sweet. It was playing on the termite mound earlier. It appears to have stopped. What's fascinating to me is to watch the elephants move around this area, especially the little ones. There are so many deep holes, deep and unexpected, that I imagine it's quite a lesson for the little ones as they stumble along and fall in every now and again. They must fall down more often than we realize. Piney and not Pie Me. Piney, you want to know if the animals get skittish, or animals like this get skittish when the wind blows. Yes, they do. So you'll find that elephants will respond that way. I've noticed a big difference in windy conditions between the open areas of the Mara and the quite sort of dense areas in South Africa and Djuma and those sorts of areas. And it makes sense. When wind blows, it confuses the animals. They can't hear very well. Everything rustles. They don't know if it's a lion sneaking up on them or just the grass blowing in the wind. So it's inevitable that an animal that survives off a sense of hearing and a sense of smell is going to announce the trees in Djuma first, when it is the dry season and all of the dried leaves are sort of flying around and scuttling about, and they do get nervous. And you'll find often when we do our bushwalks on Djuma, when we're in South Africa, or our crew in South Africa, you'll find that on windy days we are far more cautious. We're very, very cautious about the way that we approach animals, often to the point that we won't, if there's elephants and it's very windy, we won't actually walk up to them. Or probably very warm at Tingana, basking in the afternoon light back on Djuma.
Well, I'm sure you're having a great time with the Ellies and Jamie. I must say, I am already looking forward to getting two-month period in total that I get to spend down here before heading back up to the Mara. And one of the things I've enjoyed most about my time back here in the Sabi Sands is spending time with these beautiful cats. Cheetah kind of took the podium, or the top of the podium. Yeah, but as soon as I'll probably me changing my favorites as soon as I now, it's these wonderful animals. Ronald is the rover with a little camera in it. Back to the vehicle to tweak a few things on it. When it overheated, one or two of the camera settings switched off. Large majority of the rest of this afternoon's start snacking once it's cooled off, so that's something to look forward to. Lots of clouds in the sky, and hopefully, if we're lucky, the clouds will bring a little bit of rain after the drive, because we do need rain desperately here. At this time of the year, the grass that he's lying in should be lush and green, whereas as you can see, it is not looking quite like that. Now I'm kind of also torn between going and a lot of the staff on a little bit of a drive after the sunrise safari to show them Tundi and the cub, and they just saw Tundi moving away from the den, so she headed off hunting. She could be back at any time. Wonderful stuff. Well, we, like I said, are going to sit tight, tweak a few things on the rover, and hopefully the next time you come back to us, you'll be getting some wonderful low-angle views of them. For the meantime, you're heading back up to the Angama Olololo Pride with Ralph.
Thanks, Scott. Yes, and it's going to be lovely to have Scott up here in the Masai Mara for a little time before I head back to Djuma, which is very exciting for me. But it's nice to sit around the fire with different guides and talk about all our stories and different animals that we've come across, such as this lovely pride, the Angama Olololo Pride. It's going to be interesting to see what Scott knows about them and what he knows about lions in general. Tom, you want to know if the male lion is with them? Well, I haven't seen a male around, but sometimes, and quite often actually, the pride moves around on their own, and the males also go on their own. So you've got the females with the youngsters that move around together, and then it's sometimes one, sometimes two, even up to 5 males that may be in a coalition. They move around on their own, and they choose when they come to join the females. It's normally when they've made a kill, and then they come in and dominate the. But remember that the male lions do provide the stability for the territories, so they do perform a function. It's not just that they are lazy and just come in and steal the food from the females. They perform a very important function with that security, because otherwise you can have hyenas and other lions coming in, dominate the territory and make sure that everybody
lions are now a herd of elephants strolling in the late afternoon light in the Mara. And I do apologize, there is a very good chance I'm my sneeze reflex. It's a nice opportunity as well to just enjoy the peace. Keep going. There we go. Let's just watch this little one as it navigates the difficulties in front of us, because there's a big ditch up ahead as it moves across the road. It's alright. It's okay. Off you go. Lead the way. Oh, now we've got to go uphill first. Closely accompanied by Mum. Don't worry, girl. All is well. Your baby's fine. Now, Glass Dragon, speaking of mums and babies, you want to know how you identify a pregnant female as opposed to one with a full belly. Now, in elephants, it's very difficult to tell in the initial stages of pregnancy, and in fact, it's pretty much only sort of when they reach the last, I would say, 6 to 4 months of their pregnancy that you can really start to see the bulge on the outside of their bellies. So an elephant's growth of their babies is a slow process. It takes 22 months, and obviously that means that it's a very, very slow, well, it's a slow process. And so you only start to see the changes in the large animals towards the end of their pregnancy, and that applies to rhinos as well. Once you see them from the back or from the front, and you can actually see the abdomen bulging out at the sides towards the hips, then then it's very clear that there is in fact a youngster. Then in terms of antelope, well, antelope very seldom look fat and round-bellied like predators do. So when you see them rounded, especially towards the hips, towards the lower part of the abdomen, then you know it's a baby, and you'll often be able to see the baby kicking in the mother's uterus. And then with lions and leopards, it's even more difficult, and it's very much based on where the bulge sits. Towards the back of the abdomen might mean a pregnancy. Well, I have wonderful news. I think I'm going to send you all the way from being in the vehicle with elephants in the Mara to being on foot with a very special person back in South Africa.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Herbert Koza. With me is James Henry behind the camera. welcome to Sun. Welcome to the elephant. We're actually in the middle of Sabi Sands at Djuma Private Game Reserve. I'm one of the safari life guarding team, and there is the elephant bull in the middle of quarantine. We have been following this elephant for about 3-4 minutes, trying all the alley for our own safety. What we're trying to do now is to try and close the gap using the very same cover as possible as we can, using the termite mounds. There's lots of marula trees here. There's lots of cover. We'll try our best. We know quarantine is one of the places where marula trees are dominating, and of course everyone knows that elephants and we all know that quarantine is dominated by marula trees. All these trees, big trees that you see around quarantine, are marula trees. The favorite food for elephants. This time of the year, we get the marula fruits from the marula trees. So this particular elephant is trying his best to move from one tree, from one marula shade to the other one, trying to pick up all the fruits from the marula tree. We are about, I'll say, 50 meters away from him. To the north of him, the wind is in our favor, and that we'll use that as an advantage. We'll use as much cover as we can. As I said, I know I can see one of the thick bushes there. We'll try and no idea that we're here. And view him without him knowing that we are here. That will be a successful viewing of him. So in this case, I think we'll get a good view from this angle. That's him. I can see him from this angle. He has got no idea that we're here. He's busy doing his own stuff. He is enjoying his last touches of the grasses around the quarantine. So with the ellies, moving the tail from side to side means they are very relaxed. The only time that you see elephants with their tail stretch, it has got something to do with changing of behavior. So in this case, he's still very relaxed. He's enjoying whatever he's doing there. So in this case, we are still at the comfort zone of the ellie. He's doing his own stuff. He don't... We're gonna cross over to Noel and see what she's holding for us as a surprise.
Well done, Herbie. It's so nice to hear you out and about presenting. I'm super excited for you, my friend, and I hope you enjoy your walk and all of your ellies. We also have ellies. We've got a young bull that's here on the fringes of a breeding herd, and this young bull is being quite photogenic at the moment. Busy showing you just how industrious he is with his trunk there. And amazingly, we've been talking about, I know Jamie spoke about it a bit, and I myself was talking about it as well. With this wind, elephants are one of the few who aren't as bothered with it. Their sense of smell is extremely good, their hearing's very good, but then a lot of the communication they do subsonically through their feet. So you'll see less of a sort of stressful movement and more of a normal movement with weather like this. Now, that being said, if this wind were to bring huge amounts of thunder and lightning with big clouds, that thunder and lightning can sometimes cause them to have an adverse reaction. But if you think about it, their hearing is so good, and for us, even us, thunder's really loud. Now imagine that your hearing is magnified, let's just say for argument's sake, 10 times over, and then that thunder hits or that lightning crashes. That's a lot to do. So it's a huge amount of noise in your head. Now, he would have been kicked away from the breeding herd. sir, we still see you. We're still here. He's just reminding us that he is in fact a male elephant, even though he's not that big. Sorry. And so him sort of being on the fringes here, I think, has more to do with the fact that they possibly were sharing a resource, maybe a water resource, and then moved on, or possibly that his hormone level is starting to spike. He's not in muss, but maybe he's feeling a little bit of an itch, and maybe some of the females are smelling like something that he would enjoy. And he's not quite old enough to be mating yet, but it would still draw him in closer to the breeding herd, and then the breeding herd wouldn't mind as much because he's not in muss and he's younger, and they kind of know how to deal with him. Now, most of our elephants are moving away from us, so I think what we might do is we might just reposition our vehicle just a little bit farther up the road to catch a bit of a better view. As they slowly feed through here. Davi, just let me know when you're happy. Okay. So I don't think this is a very large herd. I've only counted about 8 individuals. And again, they're sort of moving back into the bushes. They're just far enough off the road where it makes it a little bit difficult for our camera work. But while we're busy trying to get a better view, I think let's head back up to Kenya, to the Masai Mara, to Jamie, and see what she's up to.
I'm just really confused right now. So two female elephants just ran past me. They're being pursued by 2 pretty big males. But they came running they've gone off to my right. Let's just have a look over there quickly before they disappear, Martin. There's the females and the, sorry, I know it's right behind the pole. I don't want to reposition yet, though. So they've come running out, and they're being pursued by the 2 big males. There's another big male in front of me. If we just have a look, you can come through to the front here. Sorry, I know it's all quick movements now, but I want to see what's going on. 2 big males that have just come out. There's one over there, and then there's another one. There we go. There is another one off to the left of me, running in the direction that the rest of them all came from. And I'm really confused. I'm trying to work out, because the additional factor is the fact that there are 2 vehicles racing in the direction that the elephants have come from. I'm wondering what gave them such a fright. It might be a combination of things. You know, it could be that there's a lion up where the vehicles are racing to, and that the elephants are completely not interested in the lion, and it's got everything to do with a female that's in estrus. But everybody seems to be in a tremendous hurry all of a sudden. 4 big males. Big bull elephants. And everybody's just ignored them and gone racing off. Why? Very confusing. I can't quite puzzle that one out. It was quite funny, though. We were just sitting... Well, we weren't, actually. We were racing on our way back towards the gate. And I had to slam on the brakes so quickly because this female came hurtling out of the bushes. Are these 2 going to have a little... Yeah, they are posturing a little bit. Just hold on. Let me reposition. Okay, I'm going to move her out. Bit of posturing happening. Oh! And the guy on the left immediately turning away. So no fighting. Most of the time, battles for dominance between big male elephants are resolved quickly without any physical contact. And that's purely as a result of one being bigger, more intimidating, more pushy, more aggressive than the other. And as a result, they don't actually have to fight and injure each other. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and figure out exactly where everyone's rushed off to. I suspect actually it's a rhino. Everything seems to be calming down. So let us head back across to South Africa to join the very full Tingana, or the relatively full Tingana, who I imagine is doing some panting.
Yes, not much has changed here. Interesting stuff there with Jamie. I hope she gets to the bottom of what's going on with those elephants. And what would be really cool to see is if you saw 2 big elephant bulls having a real go for one another. That would be really, really impressive. Something that I've never seen happening, and I've only ever seen them mating once. I would love to see another mating session, and some elephant bulls fighting. Now, not much has changed here, although we did bring Ronald back to our car. He's in a different position now. We seemed to temporarily fix things, and as we deployed him again, we lost picture, sadly. So we're going to continue to try and troubleshoot things. It's not too sure what the issue could be now. But such is the nature of the beast when you're involved in a safari that requires lots of technical little bits and pieces to help string everything together. I'm sure one of our technical wizards, Conrad's in camp at the moment, he'll be able to put his brain into solving this problem for us. So that's why still we can't show you any low angle views, but hopefully by the end of this evening's drive, when he actually gets up and starts chewing on the duiker that's just somewhere in front of Ronald, we will be able to ideally get you up close and personal with those very sharp teeth that are going to be tearing the duiker apart. Now, for any of you who are on the sunrise safari, I must admit that my guesstimate of him having finished this entire kill by the evening was way off. There's still quite a lot of meat that remains, and looks like he's just tossing and turning now, trying to get comfortable and give that very full belly a little bit of a change in position. I was just sitting here thinking now how lucky we were this morning to follow Tundi into this area, the female leopard who we stole this kill from. And often then it's led me to think further about how often these animals are on our property, not far from the roads, just lying in the shade next to a kill or something exciting or interesting happening, with us completely oblivious to it. But thankfully we've got wizards like Herbie, who I'm sure a lot of you loved seeing right in front of the camera, leading this afternoon's bushwalk with James on camera. Let's hope James's camera work was fitting for Herbie's interview, and well, not interview, but as he trains up, and it sounds like he did a wonderful job. So well done, Herbie. He's such a legend, and let's hope he doesn't spend too much time presenting, because he's our wizard at finding these animals, and that's what led me onto the topic of Herbert. He is such an absolute ninja in the bush, and looking forward to spending a lot more time with him in the coming weeks that I'm still here. It's been an absolute privilege learning so much from him. Oh, well, it seems like things are getting interesting back up in the Mara. Maybe it's Jamie's elephants that have stumbled upon Ralph's lions.
Yes, and this elephant that we're watching has got a wonderful set of tusks, and it's happily grazing nonchalantly towards the lions who have been lying in the grass, and the one female in particular has just made herself extra flat, and because I think she realizes if that bull is afternoon. One elephant there in the background is a little bit further down in the lugger, but the big bull that is grazing towards her is potentially going to maybe shake them up a little bit, but they are quite relaxed around them, especially the bigger bulls. It's only when they make a kill or they start hunting near to them, or if there's a breeding herd with little babies, that they really chase the lions out of the area. But this elephant bull now is coming quite close to those lions, and I'm pretty sure he would be able to see them, but he probably knows that, oh, it's just those pesky lions again, no problem. But he is a wonderful individual, that. Look at the size of those tusks. Remember, the largest tuskers of the elephants in the Kruger National Park, you can see them, the remains of their tusks in the museum, and I think that the heaviest tusk on its own was close to 100 kilograms. And yes, we obviously do practice a little bit of caution, especially when we see these animals on foot. And speaking of animals on foot, I think Herbie back in South Africa is on foot. Let's go over to him and see what he's been able to find on foot.
Welcome back, everybody. We still have our friend, but slowly losing his visual. He is now disappearing into the drainage, away from quarantine, to the southern end of quarantine. We are very close to the last position where we last saw him feeding in one of the weeping whistles. I was hoping that we actually see him feeding in one of the marula fruits, but unfortunately he walked past all the marula fruits around quarantine, and now we've got evidence here that not just today, sometimes some years ago he walked past here doing the damage, taking off the bark from the marula tree. And of course, marula tree is one of the trees that will actually heal itself very quickly, and in this case this is one of the evidence that will actually help you try and find the early if you were actually keen in taking this early. But unfortunately, as this is already dry and trying to recover, bring all the bark back, in this case these tracks or this evidence is not that fresh. We'll try and see if we can get more evidence, but while we're still here, this is also evidence that the earlies have also taken the bark from this tree, which tend to be the bird's nest. Over here, there's a hole, which I think is hornbill's nest, but it looks like it's not active anymore. But of course, the tree looks dirty from all the droppings that the hornbills were dropping from its nest. We'll try and see if we can go to where the early was feeding to see or to tell the difference between the freshness or any evidence that can actually lead you into finding the actual animal if you were about to track that particular animal. I know that Ellie is heading in the direction of one of our big pens. It's a little bit hot still. He might be heading towards the pen to wallow in mud to cover all that, to cover its skin from the hot day. So this is evidence that this Ellie was here. If I was about to track that Ellie, or I was still keen to follow, then instead of me wasting time, I should be rushing, hoping that I'll pick up with him anytime soon, because I know this is fresh. This is where he was eating, quite fresh. So it's only if you get any evidence that whatever you're following is there, and that you can only tell by picking up any fresh tracks or any branches which are quite fresh to indicate that they are still fresh. The animal that you're following is very close to that particular area. Other than that, if the tracks are old, then you just continue looking for any other fresh signs. So unfortunately, Sina, what is the hardest animal that I can track? I've got two animals, a leopard and a rhino. With a leopard, because they are solitary in a very long grass, it makes it difficult to follow just one track. In the case of a rhino, where a rhino, instead of walking in a straight line, they will actually make loops in the very same area, especially if they are about to feed on top of the termite mounds, where the grass are very much palatable for them. Instead of going in a straight line, they actually make loops, going over and over their own tracks. So when you get to that particular area, you need to check very, very carefully. we completely lost the visual of that particular alley. So we know it's too thick in here. We don't want to risk with him. We will make a loop looking for other animal species. I think we all enjoyed him. While doing so, we will actually cross over to Mara with my best friend Jamie with some amazing animals. Let's go and see what is holding for us.
Herbie, I miss you so much. Nothing could make me happier than to hear that you are out presenting and talking and showing everybody those ellies. I'm so excited I can pop. It's put me in such a good mood. I really am thrilled to hear it. There's nobody who's got a better smile than Herbie does. He has the best smile in the world. Oh, I miss him so much, I actually feel quite sad now. We were talking about zebras and Waterbuck, I think. We're going to have a last view of them before Ralph, who is behind me, and myself head back up the hill for the evening. Oh, I'm just so chuffed. I'm so chuffed. Oh, goodness. It's been so long since I've heard Herbie's voice properly that even hearing him over the radio is a fantastic experience. You guys are so lucky to have him. Excuse me. I'm just quietly choking to death. Don't mind me. And there we go. A nice, peaceful zebra sighting to finish off our safari. I don't think I've shown you one zebra since I got back. So what a nice way to finish off. Now, at some point, relatively soon, I'm going to need to go charging at high speed up the hill. Fortunately, with a now fully functioning car. And all the zebra... Oh, I assume you've heard the story of the zebra kill outside of our camp. But all of the zebra generally move up the escarpment and join us in the evenings and wander around past our tents. And without any further ado, I'm going to try and race the zebra up the hill, see if I can beat them back to camp. Let's send you back across to our crew in South Africa, who will finish off the sunset safari with you.
We are still here with Tingana, and you'll be glad to know we have got Ronald the rover up and functioning. And we drove it up to, I mean, what is that? Just over a meter, and he didn't even flinch. He's just rolled over now and gone to bed, as you can see. And we tried to work out where the duiker was in this long grass, but we're not too sure exactly where he plonked it down. So we just thought we'd see how close he would let us get to it. And I mean, it's not that he even reacted to us. I just thought we can't go any closer than we were. So that was the only reason we didn't drive any closer to him. And the more he gets to hear the kind of sound that the engine of that little rover makes, just like the engine of the vehicles and the sounds of our voices, he too will become accustomed to it, because its subject does not cause him any harm, doesn't steal from him, and it will eventually just become a neutral object that has no real impact on his day-to-day life, which is first prize. And I'm astounded by how quickly he has become habituated to this machine. I'm not too sure if he's been exposed to it with the other guides since I've been gone for the last 2 weeks, but this morning when we first deployed it, he kind of looked up and he was like, what on earth is this? Understandably. And once he worked out what it was and that it was of no threat to him or his food, he began to just kind of take it for granted. And now you can see some shots of the rover, and it's perfect timing because he's just put his head up. And now that you are in the grass lying down with Tingana, you'll notice that there's quite a few flies buzzing around. How cool is this? I've got one small problem though, and that he is dead center, and as a general rule you shouldn't have your subject at the center of the shot, and he is literally smack bang in the middle of the crosshairs. But we're not gonna, let's show you guys that he's not too concerned by the rover and its movements. I'm just gonna slightly tilt the shot so that we've got a bit more of a side view. There we go. There's a bit of a leaf in the way. But I've got it slightly better composed, and you can see he just vaguely looked in its general direction as he heard the engine turning. So this is a major, major breakthrough. Oh, and back to bed. So, wonderful, wonderful stuff. And I repositioned the rover there again since he lay down, and again he didn't flinch, didn't even lift up his head, so he's becoming very familiar with the sounds of it. And it's a pity we've got such long grass here, because, I mean, of course, if it wasn't such long grass, we would be having much better views of him. I'm just thinking of how well this will work in some of the vast open plains of the Mara, especially on the side of the Mara Reserve, where there's lots of short grass, and that is where we would be able to get some fascinating views of cheetah going about their business. But we haven't got any plans to do that just yet. It's something we need to try and organize for the future, and of course it will depend on the rules and regulations of the Mara Reserve and the Mara Triangle. Unlike this area, it is not a private reserve. But certainly an exciting prospect. Hello, boy. We are very grateful that you are completely relaxed with Ronald. He's your new wingman. Imagine if we could get like a silent drone that could hover above a leopard or a lion as it stalks its prey. It's probably not too far off. Cheryl, you'd like to know if I think he would attack Ronald. I think that, yes, there's definitely a chance that a leopard, not specifically Tingana, may attack a rover or Ronald, or any of Ronald's future cousins. But it's unlikely. Unless they feel threatened by something, they wouldn't attack it. So unless you were kind of trying to drive one into maybe a den site where the maternal instinct of the mothers would kick in, there it could cause trouble. But I don't think your average lion or leopard would attack a device like this. It's just going to be, you know, they might chew on it and mouth on it just, you know, because they're inquisitive. But I certainly don't think that they will attack one. Who knows though? I mean, this morning when we first introduced him to Ronald, as soon as I drove it a few meters and he picked up his head and had a look at it, I stopped the rover and just let him get familiar with it. Had I have carried on driving it towards him, it would have left him with probably two options. He would have run off because he would have been scared, or he may have thought, what is this thing? I'm going to attack it because it's approaching my kill. But, you know, instead of pushing the boundaries, we just stopped the rover exactly where it was and let him kind of get familiar with the sounds of it. You can see all the flies buzzing around now that you're back in the grass with Tingana. And who knows, maybe the kill isn't too far away. Maybe that's why all those flies are buzzing around. The tricky thing is the grass is obviously very, very long and difficult for us to see where he dropped the kill somewhere in that area. But we'll wait patiently and hopefully get some interesting shots of him chewing a little bit later on. Okay, well, I know Noel's initial plans for this afternoon safari was to try and track down Tundi. I'm not too sure where she's ended up now, though, so why don't you go and check in with her and see how she's getting along.
Hello, we're still looking for Tundi, so we did a nice little loop. We went to go check far and wide, and we're back to our initial starting point, which is where she was left this morning. But I have a feeling that she's so annoyed that Tingana stole her kill that she has either left in a huff, and I just can't find any of the tracks, or she's concealing herself really well. So we're just checking the other side of the embankment to see if we can get a different view into these little nooks and crannies and see if we come up with anything. I think we'll give it another sort of 20 minutes. Of searching, and then I think it'll be one of those scenarios if we haven't. I'll leave it at that. doesn't want to be as nice as she was to us yesterday afternoon. Oh, sorry. I think that's about the third time I've done that to Davi on that same bit of vlog. She was nice to us yesterday evening, and she was nice to us this morning, and this afternoon, not as much, but that's okay. We had some good Ellies, but also just sort of in general, other than that, it's been a little bit of a quiet afternoon. I hear that Scott's got a nice little rover action happening with Tingana. Very, very, very cool. And yeah, we had, oh, that's what I wanted to tell you about. We had really great parrots. Brown-headed parrots were busy eating the seeds off of the tambochi trees, but we can't get them to sit still long enough to show them to you. They keep flying away. I can hear them in the background. I feel like they're taunting us ever so slightly, very similar to Tundi. Also, no bird alarm calls to give anything away. That's how Davi and I found her yesterday. And I'm curious to know, there we go, questions, what all of you are up to today. Deadhead, you're curious to know if there's an update on that injured cheetah from a couple days ago. Deadhead, I've heard that that he's still a little Gowrie side, from what I know. We bumped into one of the lodge managers, Davi and I, yesterday, and he was saying that they had seen the cheetah in Little Gowrie and then they'd moved off into the thick bushes, and then I haven't heard much after that. I do know that some of the guys went to have a look, but I haven't had any proper update. So I don't think it's been found again. So it's entirely possible that he's just managed to find himself a very nice little nook and cranny to conceal himself in. It's also possible that he managed to meander off. Do you remember when we had Tingana with his injured paw? He ended up recovering quite well. No sign of Tony here. He ended up recovering quite well. So I'm hoping that the cheetah does the same thing. So we're going to meander down along the edge on this side. We've already done the other edge. There's a little spot where Davi was saying she brought her cub in this morning. Otherwise, she would have been on the opposite side. The other option is that she's not close enough for us to be able to see, and then that also means that the cub's going to be hiding quite a bit. So we're going to keep at it. Slowly but surely. Perseverance. Robin, good question. You want to know if you could drive Ronald into Tundi's den. And my immediate reaction in my head was, if you want Ronald to survive, that's probably not the best idea. So Tundi's cub is small enough that Tundi is still extremely protective, and something like Ronald coming into her den is going to be very difficult for her. So it would be sort of subjecting her to stressors that are not needed, especially after the morning she had this morning of having Tingana take the kill. So yes, technically we could, but would we? Probably not. Don't think that would be the best thing for us to do. Something like Hosanna or Tingana, when they're old enough and mature enough to decide if they want to move away from the rover, something as small as Tundi's cub is going to be so freaked out by that thing coming inside the den that it's possibly going to make that cub also do something that could cause benefits that wouldn't be the best. Oh my goodness, Scott's got a really cool view with the rover with Tingana. Speaking of the rover, so let's head on over to him while we're still searching around.
How incredible is this? I'd never in my wildest dreams thought we would ever be able to share with you guys a view literally lying head to head with a big male leopard as he consumes his kill. It's a pity he didn't make the kill himself. He stole it from his girlfriend early this morning. But how fantastic are these views? He's got up, literally headed straight to the kill. We swung Ronald around, drove him up to the kill, and we are very close to him. I'll say we are less than half a meter away, and it's absolutely magical, these views we're getting. Perfect afternoon sunlight coming through, and now we're going to show you a little bit of a two-shot of both the rover just in front of Tingana and Tingana himself, and you can see that he's just going about his business unperturbed by its presence, and it is just so close to him. So we've got ourselves into a very fortunate position here. Now I'm not sure if the rover picks up audio. It must pick up audio. Because it would be incredible, now that you're so close to him, it would be incredible if we could hear his bone-crunching jaws doing their business as they go about eating. But I don't think you will be picking up any audio from there. You'll just be listening to my audio overlaid over his picture. And I'm very happy to hear that there's a lot of you that are expressing your excitement about this absolutely fantastic view. I mean, the fact that this is coming to you live all the way from South Africa is just absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, to get these shots and edit them and cut them together is one thing in itself, but the fact that you guys have the joy of enjoying this from the comfort of your own homes, or some of you, your offices, we won't tell your bosses, is quite fascinating. Ali Rover, you ask an interesting question. You would like to know what would happen if he smelt the scent of another leopard on the rover. It would be very interesting. I guess he would phlegm and grimace and, you know, pay a bit of interest to it, but he knows full well that it's not a leopard. And the fact that, ooh, he's just got a nice big hunk of meat there. And Seb was just motioning for me to record, but I'm just letting this whole scene record non-stop. So the main thing to remember is that a leopard would need to scent mark and really rub itself up against the rover in order for another leopard to be able to smell it. And I think it's unlikely that any leopard would do that. So I don't think it's going to be problematic in any way. And it looks like he's actually edging closer towards Ronald to give you guys a better view. Look at how ridiculous this is. Now, I'm wondering if we shouldn't invite some of our other friends who don't follow us every minute of the day, but do follow us on various other social media platforms, because this is just such a unique angle that I think it may be worth sharing with as many people as possible. But maybe we'll do that once we've spent a little bit more time here with him, with all of our old faithfuls. And it does also sound like Herbie, who's on a bushwalk this afternoon, he's leading his first bushwalk this afternoon with James and camera. It sounds like he may have something interesting on the go, so why don't you go and head across and see what's happening on foot with Herbie.
Welcome back. Welcome back again. We still have a long visual of our elephant bull. He's joined by one of his friends over the crest, but we are still in the middle of quarantine. We were just hoping that he will come down back to the marula trees, but unfortunately he's moving away from us. And yeah, we are. It looks to me that that's a breeding herd. I can see more elephants coming out of the thickets. So in this case, we are still in a safe position. We'll still view them from a distance. But while we're still here with these marula trees, I'm still confident that they must still come back to this open area of quarantine where the marula trees are dominating. And I know for sure that they love marula trees. These marula trees, they didn't happen here naturally. There have been some of these areas where you see the marula trees dominating in a particular area. It actually tells you that that is one of the disturbed areas, in a sense that long time ago, like 20, 30 years ago, there were people living in that particular area. So the marula trees dominating an area indicates that these particular trees have been planted because the locusts were getting lots of product from the marula trees. In a case of jam, the marula beer, the nuts, the oil, and of course the nuts. And in this case, as you can see here, instead of them traveling long distances, as you can see these alleys, because these areas were not fenced, they actually interacting with these elephants, which was quite dangerous for them to move from one area to another. So it makes it easier for them, instead of traveling long distances when the marula trees are on season, to bring them very close to their yards and plant them. So when they are on season, they'll get them very close to their house. So as you can check here, this big tree here, it's one of the trees where they're using that particular tree. For upset stomach, you peel off the bark, boil and suck the juice 3 times like you do with the tablets. And to our right here, at the base of that particular tree, that's also evidence that the locusts were actually eating some of these jackalberry fruits. So for them to bring them very close is the same as they were doing with the marula trees. Very close to us, it's a silver cluster leaf, very shining leaf. That's where the name silver cluster leaf comes from. So these they were also using as a medicine. You'll actually see that they are dominating in this particular area as well, because when people or the locusts get bitten by snakes, this is the right tree to use. You actually chew the leaf, which is full of very strong tannins. You apply on the side of the bite, it sucks out the venom up until you go for further treatment. So they were always safe. They were living with these, or they were interacting with these elephants, but they were always safe. Oh, hi. How long do the trees normally live for? I'll take this as an example. They live for years, like 150 years maybe, or over. It depends on the particular soil of those of that section. So they live long. There's still lots of evidence, like I can see the white berries here. They're also eating the white berries, which are also good for us. As I track these animals, I'm still living in the very same area where those locusts were living. But unfortunately for them, they are now off outside the fence. This belongs to us now. We're conserving nature. We're not here to destroy. Jackson, do elephants see humans on foot as a threat? Yes, they do. Remember, the very same elephants that we see today, they were under a big threat. They were hunted, they were under culling. So, completely different experience. You'll actually see the reaction of the elephants to humans on foot than if someone is driving a vehicle passing the elephants, because the behavior of those particular elephants has got something to do with history. What happened to them before, because there was culling going on with the Ellis, there was hunting by the locals. They've got very good memories. They still keep that in mind. So they see humans as a threat to them, not their friends. While doing so, we will cross over to Scott.
Well done, Herbie. It sounds like you are doing a great job out there, and I hope you guys all have your notebooks out, taking down some natural remedies that Herbie's been sharing with you. We've just been marveling at this incredible scene as Tingana continues to snack on the remains of a duiker kill that he stole from his girlfriend this morning. And is this not just the most ridiculous view you could ever have imagined to be enjoying with Tingana? It certainly is for me. Seb and I keep looking at one another in disbelief as to what's going on, and I'm very happy we managed to work through the myriad of tech issues that we were plagued with when we started this afternoon's drive with old Ronald. Now, I did mention earlier that we are thinking about inviting along with us this afternoon for this exciting and unique view some other viewers on other platforms. I'm just going to keep quiet for a second and then welcome them on board. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Sabi Sands in South Africa. We are sitting here with a big male leopard as he feeds on a kill that he stole from his girlfriend this morning. But furthermore, we have deployed Ronald the Rover, which is a small camera on a little motorized vehicle, and we've sent that into him, and we are now, well, shortly going to show you some incredible views from about maybe 2 feet away from his nose as he chews on the duiker. So we'll show you where the rover is now quickly. It's kind of semi-camouflaged with a few green leaves. It's just in front of him, and he's been very he kind of sat up and looked with him, but with a little into a decent spot, and he's completely relaxed with the rover, and that is why we have got these incredible views. Sorry everyone, that didn't work, so we'll try that again. Let me just try and remember what I said. Only kidding. Okay, so we're going to go back onto the rover cam now whilst Nikki tries to work out what went wrong with that action broadcast. And we'll probably try again shortly in a couple of minutes or so. But here he is, continuing to enjoy his evening snack. And what Seb and I just did realize is that we're fairly confident the GoPro will be recording with audio. So not that that's a huge amount of use to you at the moment, but at least for some of our pre-recorded footage that we do use from time to time, at least we will be able to pull the audio from there. And I guess now that we have understood the need for audio on the rover, maybe we'll be able to fix that too and have a small little microphone for Ronald to be able to hear everything a little bit better. Now watch as he crunches through this bone. I think he'll make his way through this entire foreleg, and he may just leave the hoof at the end. Now watch closely. Sometimes you will find the hooves in their dung, but a lot of the times they will swallow it. It kind of does depend, but I'm guessing he is going to leave the hooves of this duiker. It's usually the young animal's hooves that they will consume, not necessarily the adults. Look at this. Absolutely crazy. And he is making short work of that bone. Now, don't be fooled, even though that bone is quite narrow and not very thick. I mean, if you were to give that to us and, we tried to snap it with our 2 hands, I don't think we would be able to. It's surprisingly powerful, not surprisingly, but incredibly powerful jaws that are managing to mince their way through that. Well, like I said, watch closely. As he gets to that end section next to the hoof, it'll be interesting to see what he decides to do. Now, Tingana, we're going to be watching you very closely going forward, so we're going to have a far better idea of your dining etiquette and your table manners. Oh, it looks like he moved a little bit closer to the rover there as the leg kind of skedaddled away from him. Okay, very good. So let's try our action broadcast one last time. And I'm going to keep quiet for a second and then welcome everybody on board. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this live safari in the Sabi sands of South Africa. You can see a big male leopard chewing on something there. He is chewing on a duiker, a small antelope that he actually stole from his girlfriend this morning. His girlfriend didn't even have a chance to have a bite of it. He heard her made the kill, ran into the area, and then stole the kill. Now, what's interesting about this afternoon's drive is that we've deployed one of our foot soldiers. It's a small camera on a motorized vehicle called Ronald the Rover, and we'll show you to him now. He's just in front of Tingana. And as Seb zooms in, you will notice that there's a kind of little black box there with some green leaves on it. That's a makeshift attempt at some camouflage. And on the front of it, what it's like to lie head to head with a big male leopard as he crunches down on a duiker. Can you believe this view? And I'm astounded by the fact that he's been so relaxed with this little machine. We haven't used it much around him. Today's literally been the only day that we've exposed him to this machine. And I guess it's just a smaller version of the vehicle that we currently are sitting on. It makes its little noise, it moves around, and it provides no threat to him. It's not stealing anything from him, it's not hurting him. And the fact that it is so small, I guess it's not very intimidating. And that is why we've been able to get these absolutely incredible views of him as he snacks. You'll notice there's a lot of flies buzzing about. Now, I bet a lot of you didn't think in your wildest dreams that you would be watching a leopard feed on its kill from no further than a foot away from its face. So, I hope you're all as excited as we are. Brenda, it says that you are reiterating how amazing it is that he is so relaxed with Ronald. And yes, it is quite fascinating. For me, I think it was always just going to be a matter of time, Brenda, that he would quickly realize that this is of actually no threat to him. But the fact that it happens so quickly, you can see he's looking off at something else there. Who knows, maybe it's his girlfriend Tundi coming back onto the scene to see if she can steal any of this food from him. I'm leaning back and looking in the direction that he's staring in, but I can't see anything for the time being. But I am going to keep a close eye on that area. It could also be that it's a bit of a windy afternoon. He may have seen some grass or bushes blowing in the wind and thought that was the movements of another predator. He does need to be cautious of hyena and lion, because if they caught wind of this kill, they would come charging in and try and steal it. Thankfully for him, though, he's got incredibly quick reflexes, and he would be able to skedaddle, probably with the kill in his mouth, up a tree out of harm's way. Brian, it's wonderful to have you watching us all the way in snowy Scotland. What I would do to have a few handfuls of your snow plonked right onto the top of my head right now. We are baking down here in South Africa, but thankfully the evening is beginning to cool off a little bit and we are parked in the shade. And please do let us know how you guys are feeling. Send through your comments. Jason, you've just commented, wow, so very close. And yes, indeed, it is actually ridiculous how incredible these views are that we are sharing with you. And the fact, again, I must reiterate that it is coming to you 100% live is absolutely mind-boggling. Well, at least it is for me. And credit to all the technical wizards that put together these little machines that we get to play with, and that piece together these pictures to send to you in high definition around the world in real time. It is quite something. And we do have a team of geniuses working on all of our toys and equipment and improvements. So thank you to them, because without their wizardry, we would not be enjoying this meal with Tingana, the big dominant leopard of Djuma, here in the Sabi Sands. Now, there's a little bird that's just popped onto the scene, and it's so beautiful that I can't not resist showing you. There's a blue waxbill on this dead branch here. Oh, it just flew off. But we'll get it next time. And it's important to remember, whilst enjoying sightings of the kind of big characters and stars of the African wilderness, that there are a lot of smaller, more interesting, well, not more interesting, but equally interesting in their own rights. Cordy, you love the way that this male leopard is plucking the fur from his kill. And I also enjoy watching it. I enjoy watching that awkward movement when they try and kind of push their tongue out of their mouth to dislodge the fur that's stuck to it. And they try and remove as much fur as possible, but it's difficult for them to get all of it off. So what you'll find is they do ingest a bit of fur, and they'll cough out fur balls and also poop out a little bit of fur that makes it into their stomach. Sean, you wondering why he hasn't taken this kill up into a tree where it will be a better spot for him in terms of safety, and not just him, safety of not losing the kill to other animals. And yes, I think definitely it would make sense, but what you tend to find is that leopards, as a general rule, eat as much as they can on the ground, where it's more comfortable for both, or for them. They also don't have the risk of dropping it down from the tree, which they do, obviously, when they're up there. But yeah, this guy, like I said, does have the ability to move very quickly. Oh, there he's moving again. You can see the ears of the poor little duiker and the head now as he moves about. And what you tend to find is that they will move closer to trees as the evening progresses, or if they do have a big kill, he will hoist it up into a tree to come back to feed on later. But there are no set rules, so to speak. You even find some leopards that hardly hoist their kills, Sean, which is quite interesting. And they often do lose their kills to hyenas. So they're not the sharpest animals. You know, I think a lot of the time we give wild animals sometimes a little bit more credit in some departments than we actually should. Well, this has been absolutely incredible, and I hope all of you that have joined us briefly have enjoyed these incredible views of a big male leopard chomping down on a duiker. If you'd like to continue following this live safari, it's got another hour or so maybe left. You can do that on YouTube. Just type in Safari Live. Otherwise, keep a close eye on any notifications. Sorry, there's only 30 minutes left of our regular sunset safari. Thanks for joining. We'll see you all next time. Okay, everybody, just had to have a little bit of a random awkward silence there as we said goodbye to everyone. And now we are back in action. You can see the setting sun there, just in the corner of the screen, glinting through the leaves. And what an absolute treat. I've been completely spoiled since I've been back. I've had 3 drives, all of which have contained leopard, 2 of which had Tunde and her cub. This morning I got to see all 3 of them, and it's just been absolutely epic being back after 2 weeks away, getting spoiled with these incredible moments and scenes. Sadly, Noelle hasn't had the same fortune that I've had over the last few days, but maybe, just maybe, she will get lucky towards the end of the safari as she continues her search for Tunde.
Thanks, Scotty D. Yeah, We have put in a lot of effort, but it's just one of those afternoons where she looks like she wants to be on her own. So we've left that area. We're just checking the western side of the periphery just in case and seeing if anything pops up. There's some really beautiful light that's happening through the grass here. So we're having little visions of Tundi walking through the grass with the backlighting. It's not happening, but that's all right. We can dream a little bit. Other than that, very quiet. Barely seen any impala today. We had our nice waterbuck earlier and our nice elephants. But it is a beautiful, beautiful afternoon. It's not too hot. There's a nice breeze. It smells nice. It smells like summer. I think summer is my favorite time of the year. And as we come up, we're actually going to probably get a little bit of a view of the Drakensberg Mountains, which we don't always get to see. Towards the end of the road here. And remember, we've got the very northern end of the Drakensberg Mountains. They stop around the Blyder River Canyon for the most part, and then they head all the way down through KwaZulu-Natal and then start breaking off a little bit. And eventually, I was chatting with a friend of mine about this, eventually if you take it from a geological standpoint, they do actually end up in Cape Town. But most of the places that people go to visit the Drakensberg Mountains are places where you can do amazing hiking, which we can do near Blyder River Canyon, but then you're also going to head down farther south and hit, I want to call it the cathedral. It's not the amphitheater that side. And I still, after all of these years living in South Africa, I haven't been down there, so that's on my list of something to do, go hiking down that way. And then along the way, a little bit farther south from us, you start getting amazing areas like Macmac Falls and the potholes and all of these beautiful spots to go and hike and to picnic and to enjoy. But there's also some really wonderful historical spots where a lot of the voortrekkers, a lot of the Boers who came across stopped before they came down to the Lowveld and had to bring their ox wagons over. And there's a lot of history in this area. That being said, some other amazing history. We've been looking at termite mounds a lot today. Not actually talking about the termites, but we've been looking at the mounds for Tundi. And many years ago, I was on a track and sign assessment. So basically, the tracks get circled and you say, you know, it's a caracal track or it's an impala track and all this. And we came up to a termite mound and there was a question there and there was this little bit of what looked like rock sort of stuck in the side of the termite mound. And I'm staring at this and it had like a little lip to it. I'm going, yes, but that's the funniest looking rock. I couldn't quite put my finger on why we were being asked this, so I obviously didn't get the question right. And it was a fragment of an old clay pot that a Shangaan woman had basically, this time of year, had dug out a little bit in the termite mound. She had this clay pot that she would put there with a little bit of water, and it collects the winged alites. And then she would go and scoop the winged alites out, and then that would be one of the food sources. It was really amazing, and that clay pot was a few hundred years old. Absolutely incredible. Lots of history here. Ah, James. Hello, James. I had an update on Shadow yesterday. She apparently was over in Hoffman's, which is connected, I believe, to Little Gallery. So nowhere close to us. And Dobby and I checked a few places where she might pop up. But I was actually commenting earlier, the whole area we've been looking for Tundi today and where Tundi's been. When I started in November, that's where Shadow and #NotBarbara were doing a lot of their resting. As if Tundi's moving into that. Points to think about. Oh, that's what I also wanted to share with everybody, but I got totally sidetracked with our Tundi thing. I watched some amazing footage today on the Great Barrier Reef, that special program that David Attenborough put together, and was actually wanting to talk to you about some of coral reefs and how in regards to us, we've had a little bit more droughts than we should. Our rainfall is not the best, but the coral bleaching I kind of understand, but didn't really understand as fully as I've done now. I still have to do some more research, but it's quite interesting. Just the fact that the climate change has created a lot more acidity in the oceans and also temperature change is basically killing off coral around the globe. So when you have too much acidity in the oceans, the coral can't make their hard shells with the calcium bicarbonate that comes out of the ocean water, because the acidity basically eats it away. And then that bleaching happens because just 1 degree raise in temperature in the ocean's temperature makes it so that it basically dehydrates almost. It's not the correct word. I'm missing the word that I want, but I just found that absolutely in the world would be David Attenborough. Oh, and Nikki is telling me in my ear that sunscreen is also destroying coral. Nikki, do you want to tell me a little bit more about that? I haven't heard about that one before. What happens with the sunscreen? Apparently there's something in sunscreen that's also affecting coral. Nikki, that's super interesting. Thanks for sharing that. I'll have to do a little bit more research on that. So yeah, David Attenborough would be someone I want to meet. I'm not too into meeting celebrities. I think they're amazing, and I love movies and I love TV shows and things like that. But if I met David Attenborough, I don't think I would be able to talk. I think it would be sort of a shaking of a hand and a, oh my goodness gracious. I would totally have that look and the wide eyes. My mom went to a Beatles concert when she was younger, and she was talking about the Beatles and how everyone was crazy. I think it would be like that. David Attenborough is certainly the Beatles of conservation. We still have Herbie out and about. This is, I love Herbie. This is so great. All right, Herbs, carry on. Tell our wonderful viewers whatever it is you want to share with them, and then we'll keep looking for whatever it is that we're trying to find.
Welcome back. We are at the edge of quarantine. It's inside of the open area with these signs telling me the presence of one of the potential dangerous animal responsible for many human deaths in Africa, which is a hippo. This is one of the terrestrial signs of a hippo bull, which came to defecate and switch the tail to spread the dung as a sign of the territorial marking. So if you're walking here and you come across this, and we're about to track this hippo, this tells you that this is no longer fresh. The grass is very dry. The chances of you finding these hippo are very slim, so you rather go around and see if you pick up more signs of this hippo. This is how you tell the freshness of any sign that you get on the ground or up the trees. So while we're doing that, we'll just move around and see what other evidence can we get as a sign to indicate the presence of some of these animal species. From a distance, I can tell that tree has been disturbed, not just from the earliest, but there's a shining part that I'd like to go and show you. And now talking about, I can see more evidence on the ground, some very, very fresh tracks here. Remember, I'm a very, very good tracker. I know exactly which animal walked past here. These are Wildebeest tracks, very fresh from today. And I know there's a herd of Wildebeest living in this particular section here. They walked past this area. And of course, over here, the shining part, as I've said, we came to see that a wildebeest, which I think is one of the territorial bull, came to rub itself here. Now, question, is there anyone to help me who knows exactly why that wildebeest bull came to rub itself here? So, while doing so, there's more evidence of these wildebeest here. These are wildebeest dung. They look more like buffalo dung. This is not fresh, possible from this morning. since it's dry already, but there's lots of evidence. It's not just one wildebeest living in this particular area, but it looks like a herd. As you can tell from the tracks, they're all tracks. They're small, which belongs to the babies. That's big ones, big tracks, very big tracks. And also there's evidence of impala droppings, which means the impalas are staying together with this herd of wildebeest. For it makes it easier for them to detect or to see danger coming from a distance, not just from the impala side, but from both species. You sometimes find the wildebeest together with zebras, with impalas, with waterbuck, and also with nyalas for safety in numbers. It's quite easy for them to spot danger from a distance. When they are in a big group, then yes, you correct, Messi. This is a wildebeest doing a scent mark. We all know that wildebeest are very much territorial. You find that a wildebeest bull will come and wrap itself in a substrate like this, leaving all the signs or the scent that the other females or the other bulls to come and pick up and stay away from the area in the case of other bulls. But of course, the female, as soon as they get to this area, they will smell or they pick up the scent from the preorbital glands just below the eyes of the wildebeest. And in this case, it will be easy for them if there's one of the females visiting that particular area where the male, when he comes back, he will actually come and sniff, he will actually know that there are females here. So in that case, smelling the urine of that particular female, it will be quite easy for him to know that one of the females is in oestrus. And of course, he will try and make sure that he corners that particular female and making sure that it doesn't cross to the neighboring property for the mating purpose. This, you correct, Messi. This from a wildebeest preorbital glands. Not just leaving the scent on this, but also by scratching on the ground, leaving the pedal glands just between the hooves, by scratching on the ground. So it's quite easy for them to pick that as well. And in this case, we'll keep going around and checking what else can we find. While doing that, I think Noel has got something for us. While still checking around, why don't we go and see what he's holding for us?
So we've got 2 young elephant bulls here. This one that we got on camera for you. We've been sitting here for a little while, and he came up to the vehicle, smelled the vehicle, and then put his trunk in his mouth to get our scent. It was absolutely amazing. I don't know if we can actually see the bits of spit that are still here on the edge. We might be able to, just here, at the tip of my finger. Do you guys see that wet? And here, that wet. And there. He put it right there and it went, and then backed away, and then stuck it in his mouth. Absolutely fantastic. So he's been in a little bit of a fight with that other bull that's just there. 2 young boys. There's a breeding herd in the background, and they took a break so that this one could investigate us. It wasn't done maliciously. He was just curious and came up, and then he smelled the winds blowing from behind us. Then he smelled at the camera. Very, very, very cool. This one on the right hand side has a stick in his trunk. They're posturing at each other. I think the one that just had that stick in his trunk was annoyed that this one came over and was saying hello to us. He wants to play more. So they're going to use this bush in between them, this small tree, to sort of judge each other around. And they're going to decide whether or not they feel like going at it again. And here we go. There's the instigator. Here he comes. All of this is meant to help for when they get a little bit older. I'm just going to poke my nose in just so we can get a little better view. For when they get a little bit older and they're big bulls and they really need to do this to fight when they're larger, especially when there's lack of water around water holes, or if there's a younger bull that's trying to come in. Boys having a slight little wrestling match and then taking a break and then wrestling again and taking a break. Bree, you're asking if elephants have a lot of taste buds? Hello, sir. Now he's going to... We're not going to play back with you. I'm so sorry. We're not an elephant. He's not impressed. Yeah, definitely. I don't know if it's as much as, say, a lion. But yeah, they do have quite a few taste buds. The number I couldn't give you. But they're able to smell and then pick up minerals under the ground and pick those up and eat them, and they know which minerals they need. So there must be some sort of taste bud mixed with the olfactory with the smell in there as well. He's now pretending to ignore us around the tree here. Again, using the tree in between us. I love elephants. I never tire of elephants. Now he's digging up soil to throw on himself, but the wind is in such a way that when he does start throwing it on himself, it's going to come all over us. Oh, he's found a tuber. I was wrong. He dug up a tuber underneath there. It's a little bit of an awkward thing. He's having trouble putting it in his trunk. There's too many branches in the way. Now he's throwing it around. Let me see if I can push us forward a bit. There. Sorry, my boy, I wanted to see you eat that tuber. Kind of like a potato. Now you can see him chewing on it. So they use their feet and their trunks to dig up dirt and soil and then throw it on themselves. So that's what I could see from behind the tree. But as you can see, he was just putting it in his mouth. It was about the size of a cricket ball, like a baseball size. Now he's had a little snack, he's energized himself, and it wouldn't surprise me if after this he then tries to find his other friend, or possibly dig up more tubers. First Lady, interesting question. You'd like to know why do elephants have deformed tusks? It's similar to us, First Lady. Some of us are born with really magnificent teeth, and some of us, like myself, need braces for 5 years. So that's pretty much what happens. Just the growth pattern is not straight. The broken tusks are from fighting, but those deformed ones that move around, or like Fang, her tooth just grew funny. I actually have a friend who had a big tooth out of her bottom jaw that grew so long it grew up through, or not long, but wrong, that it grew through her lip. So that happens, same thing as what happens to humans. The root's probably just positioned funny in the gum line there. We farted, it smells really, 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 really bad. Thanks, friend. Oh, as we know, they don't digest most of what they eat. And so a lot of their gaseous outputs are, you can taste them. It's not a nice taste. But that being said, I know Herbie's been showing you a lot on walks. Because they only digest about 25% of what they eat, they can sometimes digest up to about 42%. You can actually find whole fruits inside of that dung, and if you're starving, lost in the bush, you just pick them out and you can eat them. You can also use dried elephant dung you ingest it, you eat it to help get rid of migraines. And it's also a good one. You can take it and sort of light it on fire in your room, and it helps smoke out mosquitoes. Very cool sighting. I'm just going to reverse a little bit. See where our other little friend is. Possibly, oh, he's right behind us. Here he is. Coming out into the road, also keeping an eye on us. Now, while we're waiting to see what these chaps are up to, I think let's head back to Tingana so you all can see what he's up to.
Yes, well, he moved the kill ever so slightly, and is in a slightly different spot, so we don't have the best view with Seb's camera, but Ronald, our trusty roving friend, has managed to wiggle his way into a great spot, and it looks like Tingana is now busy starting to feed on the skull, the final little bit of this duiker that was caught earlier this morning. And now you can see that we're back on the rover cam, that you do have quite a graphic view of him starting off with the ears, and he could well crunch his whole way through that entire skull. That is the most ridiculous view I think one will ever see. And I'm sorry if laughing was offensive to any of you, but I mean, it was just the most bizarre scene, a leopard looking in one direction with the duiker's head pointing out in the other. So forgive me for giggling there, but I did find it quite funny. It was just the most ridiculous scene. I'm not sure what caught his attention there, but like I said a little bit earlier, it's quite a windy evening, so as the light begins to fade, he will start getting more and more cautious of any objects rustling or blowing in the wind. But it seems like he's timed his afternoon perfectly in conjunction with our sunset safari, because it seems like he's going to finish his dinner just as we finish our evening safari. And it's just been the most incredible learning experience for us and Ronald and all of you, and I'm so happy that we were able to share with you these incredible scenes. Who knows when next we'll get an opportunity to do this with Tingana or with any other leopards. I must reiterate that our main aim here is to go about habituating them and getting them as used to Ronald as possible, just like they are used to the big vehicles that we drive around in. And that way we'll be able to bring you more incredible intimate views just like this one we are enjoying right now. If any of you have just logged in, the camera that is filming him is probably no further than a foot or two away from him. I don't think we've got a view of Ronald from where we are here now. Now you can see we're back on Seb's cam, and not much of a view from here. I guess I could reposition, but I'm just so happy with Ronald's view that I thought we could sacrifice our view because Ronald's in a good spot. But let's reposition quickly. And I was just taking some pictures. Just putting the camera down. Okay. Now we've only got a minute or two left, so I'll be quick about this repositioning. There we go. Oh yeah, and we've got another animal here. A stick insect that was crawling along the monitor of the car. Oh, sorry, I think I need to move my hand back a bit because I was too close for focusing. There we go. How crazy. It's all happening here, but let's show you some final views of Tingana before the safari comes to a close. We'll put the stick insect on a tree there. It's going to be far more comfortable. And there you can see Ronald's little red light at the back there, and a little bit of haphazard camouflage. And now we are back onto the Ronald view. Whew. Well, what an afternoon it has been, and I'm hugely happy and grateful that Tingana has seemingly accepted Ronald as a neutral subject, just like us. Oh, this might be a bit graphic for some of you. It looks like the brains on the menu now. But interesting stuff, and we are definitely going to get some more fascinating views. We're going to learn a lot. Different light thanks to Ronald and his handiwork. So I hope you all enjoy these fantastic low angle views, having a snack with a big male leopard. It's been great fun, A big thanks to everyone involved in terms of our Safari Live crew, and of course you guys for supporting us and keeping us entertained on the safaris. We'll see you next time.